السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت السميع العليم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Now we have reached a stage in the seerah where we said last week, the delegations that came to announce their Islam from the tribes of Arabia, and that was in the year 9th and 10th of Hijrah. And I'm only picking up the delegations that have links or relevance to the Quran or Sunnah, and that's the importance of them. Otherwise it might be just boring to try and count them all. We reached, there's still some delegation I need to talk about, and one of them now was the tribe of Banu Sa'd. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a tribe from Yemen. Now, even from Yemen, the far end of Arabia started coming across to announce their Islam. They were represented, there was a man sent by that tribe, only one man, and he was called Dumar ibn Tha'laba. This man was known to have special talent that he could tell liars from truth, honest people. Now we have lie detectors, machines. Some people, subhanAllah, they have that ability that they can tell from your looks, the way you respond, the way you act, what you are. So his tribe sent this man to test the Prophet ﷺ. And they said, if he is a prophet, you become Muslim, we will all follow you. If not, we will not. So imagine now one man holds the whole thing for his old tribe. So he came. He arrived to the masjid, and the Prophet ﷺ was never just separate or distanced from them. No one could tell who he was. So he walked in and said, which one of you is the son of Abdul Muttalib? By Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. The Prophet ﷺ said, it's me. He said, O Muhammad, I am here representing my tribe. I'm going to be asking you questions, and I might be rough with my questioning. So be patient with me. The Prophet ﷺ said, ask what you wish. So he said, O Muhammad, who created the heavens? Simple answer to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Allah. He said, O Muhammad, who created the earth? He said, Allah. He said, O Muhammad, who erected the mountains? The Prophet said, Allah. He said, O Muhammad, I ask you by Allah, who created the heavens and the earth and who erected the mountains, did Allah send you as a messenger? The Prophet said, yes. He said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa annaka Rasulullah. He just said Shahada straight away. He could tell, honesty, there is no hesitation, nothing. He could see in the eyes. He just became Muslim. One man got the whole tribe in Yemen to follow him. And there's another in the hadith as well. It's well known in one of the hadiths that a Bedouin came to the Prophet ﷺ asking him similar questions. Said, O Muhammad, who erected the heavens, who created the heavens, who created the earth, who erected the mountains, and said, I ask you by Allah, who created the heavens and the earth, did Allah order you to pray 5 times a day? He said, yes. And he said, I asked you by Allah, who created the heaven and the earth, did Allah ask you to fast the month of Ramadan? He said, yes. And I asked him again about zakat and about hajj, in the same question. And he had 2 braids on his hair, that man. So he said, I ask you by Allah, who created the earth and the heavens, if I do these, i.e. just the 4 or 5 pillars of Islam, just the faridah, will I enter Jannah? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes. He said, Wallahi, I will not do any more. He doesn't want to do any nafilah, any sunnah, anything, just the fard. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if the man with the 2 braids is honest, he will be in Jannah. If he's truthful that he will fulfill these faridah properly, and that tells you how simple Islam is. We don't have to be doing, oh, I want to fast every day, I want to pay all my money, I want to be praying day and night. Do the faridah number one. If you do it properly, and only that, inshallah, will enter Jannah. Everything extra is extra for raising levels and status in Jannah, or for us, because we miss so much and we're not so pure in our actions and niyyah, and we pray and our minds travel across the world. The sunnah is to try and patch up what we have missed. And this is why we are encouraged to do as much sunnah as we can. Now, after this, a delegation came from Najran. Najran is an area as well in Yemen, which are all Christians. And in the beginning of the first day or second day of the seerah, I spoke about Najran, how they became Jew. They used to worship fire, then they became Jews, and then from Habasha, Avicenna, they sent a leader and they conquered it and took it and became Christians. And then Abrah al-Habashi came from there to try and destroy the Kaaba. So now they're Christians. They went and they heard, they sent, the Prophet ﷺ sent them a letter. The letter went straight to the cardinal, which is their top Christian leader. He read the letter and he knew that there are signs, there is still a messenger, a prophet to come, and he didn't know what to do. He asked his priests, they all said, it's all true, we have the signs, that is him, but what shall we do? SubhanAllah, Islam didn't go into their heart, although they know facts from their books. So the cardinal said, let's ask our king. Their king called Shurhabil ibn Wada'a. He was a very devious man, well known amongst Arabs to be a devious man. They said, we had this letter, there is a man who's saying he's a prophet and the signs all fit him as we are in the Injil, in their book. What shall we do? He said, Wallahi, if it was a matter of dunya, I can find you any excuses and twist it upside down to make it sound and decorate it sound good. But this is a matter of deen, religion. I cannot play games with it. You tell me, you are the religious people. That's why you are there and you've learned all this. What shall we do? They couldn't answer, so he gathered all the tribe, and the cardinal read the letter and told them about this prophet and the signs and what should we do. No one could make a decision. That was how indecisive they were, number one. And subhanAllah, Islam hasn't touched their hearts, and it's only Allah who guides people, no one else. So they agreed that they will send a delegation to Medina, led by their king, the cardinal, and few of their priests, and some of their elites, of course. For them, going to meet a Nabi, as they believed that he's a Nabi so far in their hearts, but they couldn't admit it. They got all their clothes, the silk, the finest silk, the gold, and walked into Medina. They walked into the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, said the salam. He did not reply to them. They walked out, negotiated what's happening, what's going on. They went in, past the greet the Prophet ﷺ and Sahaba. He did not reply to them. They walked out, really strange, not understanding what's going on. Ali followed them, radiallahu anhu. So they saw him, said, come, you are his companion. Why is he not talking to us? He said, take off the gold and the silk that you're dressed up with. He does not like it. So they changed their clothes and got more into normal clothing of humble attitude and walked in and greeted the Prophet ﷺ, and he replied. And then the Prophet told his Sahaba later, he said, when they came first time and second time, Iblis, Shaitan, was with them. So I did not want to reply to their greetings in the presence, because he would be replying possibly to the Shaitan as well, as-salam. So he didn't want to reply. When they came back, normal clothing, Shaitan did not walk in with them. That's when he responded and replied to them, alayhi salatu wassalam. Now they came to him and they started talking to him about Islam. We do not want to be Muslim, and tell us about what's the difference between Islam and Christianity and Isa ibn Maryam. So the Prophet ﷺ, Allah revealed to him verses from the Quran, which are around 30 verses in chapter 3, Surah Ali Imran, from verse 33 to 61. I will not be reading because the story of Ali Imran and then the birth of Maryam alayhi salam and how she was looked after by her uncle, and then how suddenly she got pregnant with Isa and his birth. But it reached a stage where they were the query to them, which is verse 59 and 60. إن مثل عيسى عند الله كمثل آدم خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون. The example of Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, is the same as Adam. He created him from dust, from nothing, and then said, be. And he was what he was. And Adam is more miraculous, if we think about it, creation, because he came from no father, no mother, just from dust. SubhanAllah. But Isa, he had a mother at least. So who is more miraculous? Sayyidina Adam. This is an explanation. And then the next ayah is Al-Haqqu min Rabbik فَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. This is the truth from your Lord alone. So do not be in any doubt. So these are the last two verses of the long list, as I said, the verses that was related to Sayyidina Isa. And he told them facts. Now they knew, and in their hearts they believed it, kind of know that he is the Prophet, still could not make a decision. So they went out, delegated, what should we do, what should we not do, and they could not make a decision. So Allah revealed to His Prophet ﷺ, the next verse, 61, in the same chapter, Ali Imran. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. So if they start disputing the matter of Isa ibn Maryam with you, just say, come. Ask them to come to you. Let's gather together and call our sons and your sons, and our women and your women, and ourselves and yourselves, and then let us pray and evoke the curse of Allah on the ones who lie. This is the ayah we call al-mubahala. Mubahala is asking Allah to curse the one who is lying. That's a very famous ayah about a famous story. So Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he went home, he called Fatima, Ali, and his two grandchildren, Al-Hasan and Hussein, and came out. He said, this is me and my family and my children. Come and let us now make prayers, all of us, that Allah will curse the ones who are lying. They declined. They knew He's the truth. They knew that is the truth, but they would not admit it even then. So they went out and started delegating. What shall we do? And they asked their king, you are our king, make a decision, we will follow you. And he said, the cardinals, you make decision, I will follow you. And they couldn't reach an agreement. So finally they agreed that, okay, they will ask Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to make a decision on their behalf, anything except Islam. So they already put an exception. So they went to the Prophet ﷺ and told him, we will agree with your decision, but not Islam. He said, but I fear that your people would not agree to it. Shurhabil said, I am the king, and they will not turn down my saying. And everybody with him said, yes, we agree. He is our king, and we will fulfill anything, and our people will follow us. So he said, since you don't want Islam, you will pay jizya, which is like the special, finance taxation to protect them. So they become under the banner of the Islamic State, but they will be protected from the Muslims if anybody tries to attack them. And they agreed. Then came a delegation from Himyar, a tribe in Arabia. And the only reason for this, the importance of this tribe, is that the Prophet ﷺ wrote to them a letter that explains and describes the whole terms of zakat in details. And the ulama up to date, if they want to return, go back onto anything in relation to zakah, they go to this letter that was written by the Prophet with all details about zakat, what is the percentage of this and that and so on and so forth. So that is the importance of this delegation. Then after that there came Bani Bujayla. And Bani Bujayla, the importance of them is that they had Abdullah ibn Jarir radiallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Jarir al-Bujayli. He is a Sahabi that is importance the fact that he lived only a year in the last year of the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and he narrated so many hadith after that. But what happened, they arrived on Jum'ah time. So they did ghusl, him and his tribe that came with him, the group, and they entered the masjid. As they entered, he entered first, of course, as the leader of the tribe. Prophet ﷺ standing on the minbar, silent, and everybody looking at him. Wherever he walked, they followed him with their eyes until he managed to find a spot and he sat down. Everybody's still looking at him. So he asked one next to him, he said, "Did the Prophet mention me in any way that you're looking at me?" He said, "Yes. Just before you walked in, the Prophet ﷺ said, 'Now a man will enter to the masjid. He is the best man of Yemen. And he has a look of a king,' although he was not a king. But he had the look of a king on him. So everybody was looking for, who is this best man coming from Yemen? He is the best person in Yemen. That was him, radiallahu anhu. And he said that whenever he met, or he wanted to meet the Prophet ﷺ, from then on, he was never turned down or asked to wait. He would straight away walk in. He complained once to the Prophet ﷺ that he cannot sit still on a horse. He keeps falling off his horse. The Prophet ﷺ made dua for him, that he can be steadfast. And he said, "Wallahi, from then on I never fell down off my horse." But as I said, the importance of his ahadith. Now he narrated so many hadith, radiallahu anhu. Whenever you read Abdullah ibn Jarir, if any hadith that came contradicts his, the fuqaha will take his hadith versus the others, because Islam came through a phase of changes in its, like it's we have in the Quran as well, like all the verses about khamr. There are some that started initially and then changes happen, so we take the last of them. Same with hadith. There were hadith initially that would go for the Mecca period, then hadith for the period of, the early periods of Medina, and then final hadith that could have negated others. And that's the importance of the hadith of Abdullah ibn Jarir. Whatever he said is the last thing that we accept if it contradicts anything else. Now after this was another delegation called from Bani Dar, and came with Tamim al-Dari. I'm not going to talk about Tamim al-Dari long, because if I am to take it, will take a hadith that is 2 pages, which we can read all in Sahih Muslim, inshaAllah. He is the man who came to announce his Islam with his tribe, and the Prophet ﷺ was amazed by a story that he described about Ad-Dajjal, Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal, or Al-A'wa Ad-Dajjal, so-called the Antichrist. He told him a story that they were in the sea, and they had a long story, but the Prophet ﷺ gathered all the Muslims in a strange time. He called them, and he said, "I just called you because Tamim al-Dari just told me a story about the Dajjal that matched what I already told you." And then he asked Tamim al-Dari to describe the whole scenario to them. And that was just again to stress that the Prophet ﷺ was truthful with something talking about the future. So it's, as I'm saying, as you can see, it's a long hadith, but it's the description of what is a Dajjal and a Dabba, what we call al-Jassasa, that walks the animal, and so on and so forth. So this is about the Day of Judgment, and before the Day of Judgment, the major signs. But this was the importance of this. And what he said, the Prophet ﷺ, after this he sent Khalid ibn al-Walid in a small battalion, after this, to another tribe, which was Bani Harith ibn Ka'b. And as soon as they saw Khalid coming with his troops, they announced their Islam, and they went with him back to announce their Islam. This was of importance because Prophet ﷺ, when they walked in, he was slightly angry and upset with them. He said, "Would you not come Muslim to me without sending the troops to get you? Wallahi, if you haven't, I would have get them to kill you. There's no way of non-Muslims remaining in Arabia. Either you're Muslim or you agree to terms, as we said, jizya or whatever terms that Allah has described." So the importance of this, that all the tribes heard of this now. There's no way. Either you come to me or there will be fight. So now Islam to spread across Arabia. And when they came, of course, he told them this. He repeated it 4 times. One of their wise men, he stood up and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, wallahi, it's not you or Khalid that brought us here. It's Allah only who brought us here." That's the wise person. And Prophet ﷺ calmed down. Of course, you can appreciate how ﷺ he is. And he said, "You have spoken the truth." So this is someone whose iman, belief, has gotten to his heart. He knows that only Allah brought them. And then when Islam started spreading, Prophet ﷺ sent 2 of his delegations, ambassadors, to Yemen to try and teach them Islam. And that was Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu and Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu. The Prophet loved Mu'adh. May Allah be pleased with Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. When they were about to leave, he hugged him, gave him a big hug. He said, "Oh Mu'adh, maybe I will not see you after now." So Mu'adh started crying, radiallahu anhu. He said, "The Prophet is telling me that he is close to depart and die." And you can imagine what the Sahaba who met him and lived with him, how they would feel about losing him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And soon after this, Allah revealed Surah Al-Nasr, which we all know in the Quran, chapter 110, one of the short surahs that we teach our children in early days. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. When you see the help of Allah and the victory, it's Allah telling the Prophet ﷺ, and you see people entering in the religion of Allah in crowds, then celebrate and praise Allah and ask for forgiveness, as Allah is merciful. When the Prophet ﷺ read this to the Sahaba, Abu Bakr started crying. Because now you saw Allah has given Al-Nasr, which is victory, and all delegations coming. You can see now Fatah, the conquer of the whole Arabia, without much fighting anymore. It's just in peace, they're coming to him. And the Prophet, Allah is saying to the Prophet, when you see that happening, ask forgiveness, prepare for death. Abu Bakr started crying. Sahaba said, "Why are you crying, Abu Bakr? This is good victory and Nasr and happiness." Said, "Allah is telling us that the Prophet ﷺ is to depart." He understood it, radiallahu anhu. Now, after this, you can see that what's happened throughout all this period, all the fights, everything, now peace, Muslims, delegation going. In Dhul Qa'dah, 10th Hijri, the Prophet ﷺ sent messages all across to all the tribes that he has the niyyah to go for Hajj himself. Whoever wants to come with him, come. There's no restriction to anyone. And he started preparing, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with all the Sahaba. He made a move to Hajj, did the ihram from Abiyar Ali or Dhul Hulayfa, and went ahead. As they were moving around, he saw an elderly man carried by 2 others and walking, dragging his feet, not able. And he said, "What's wrong with this man?" He said, "Oh Rasulullah, he made a vow, nadhr, that he will walk to Mecca on foot." You know, we all make nadhr and vow every now and then, subhanAllah, if Allah, if you give me that, I will do such and such. This man made a vow that he wants to walk to Mecca. Prophet ﷺ said, Allah does not have anything to do with him hurting himself. Order him, let him get on a camel. And he was ordered, he obeyed. When you want to make a vow, make it something that does not harm you or others. It's not something that, oh, I have to, give myself hardship. No, that's not the point of it. And we know that it's very well known to the Prophet ﷺ that whenever he was given choices between two things, he would choose whatever is easy and simple in Islam, providing it's not ma'asiyah and against the teachings of Islam. But if you have two matters that are both halal, he would choose what's easy. And even he said, and it's in Sahih al-Bukhari, an Anas radiallahu anhu, whenever he used to say to people going to preach, he said, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا وَبَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. Make life easy and put ease in people's lives and don't make hardship. يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا. Choose the ease in life and give people good and glad tidings. Bashiru, and don't turn them away and push them away from Islam with bad manners and so on and so forth. So that was the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. A woman came to him while they were on their way having a baby with her, an infant, and raised him, said, Ya Rasulullah, does this little one has Hajj? He said, yes, he will get the reward and you will get the ajr as well. You get the reward as well. But the ulama say, of course, it does not remove the Hajj faridah that he will still have to do after puberty. He will get the ajr of having done Hajj with the parents. The parents will get the ajr of having the hardship of taking the baby with them. But when that person becomes adult, he or she has to do the faridah that is a fard of Hajj. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, they arrived there and Sahaba, they all did the Umrah. The Prophet did his Umrah, but he remained in his Ihram. There are three types of Hajj. We say Hajj Ifrad, which is just Hajj without Umrah. You just go straight to Mina. You don't do Umrah. And there is Hajj Qiran, which is you do Umrah, you stay in your Ihram until you finish your Hajj and then you remove your Ihram. And there's Hajj Mutamatti', where you do Umrah, you take off the Ihram, you lead a normal life. Then on the 8th of the Hijjah, you do another Ihram and do the Hajj. So there are the three types well known. The Prophet ﷺ said, if it was not for the fact that I was leading the hadi, which is the cattle for the slaughter, I would have done it mutamatti', which is take off my Ihram, have a break and do Ihram again. This is to tell the Ummah that Hajj, choose the easier one. Don't take the hardship of Ihram and remain in Ihram for a whole 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on how long it will take him. So you can imagine the Prophet ﷺ left Medina, let's say possibly mid-Dhul Qa'dah, or last 10 days of Dhul Qa'dah. And he had to remain in his Ihram for 20 days till the 10th of Dhul Hijjah after Arafah. It is hardship on someone to remain in that Ihram all that time. So he did tell the Ummah that there is an easier way, and he would have chose that if it wasn't that he led the Hadi, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now on the 8th of the Hijjah, which we know all is called Yawm al-Tarwiyah. That was because in the days of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and after that, Muslims used to fill up water to go to Mina and Muzdalifah and Arafah. These areas didn't have water, so they have to fill up and carry the water with them. So it was the day of filling the water. Yawm al-Tarwiyah. They do the Ihram and start filling up water in that day. Then they go to Mina, and on the 9th of the Hijjah they go to Arafah. Quraysh in the day of Jahiliyyah, which is the day of ignorance, that's what Jahiliyyah means, ignorance, they used to stop in Muzdalifah and not carry on to Arafah. And they used to say, we are the people of the Haram, Baytullah al-Haram, we do not leave the boundaries of Haram. So the people from Quraysh, the Muslims then, they walked with all the Muslims and reached Muzdalifah and stopped, waiting to see what would the Prophet ﷺ do, because he is from Mecca. Would he stop with them or not? Prophet ﷺ carried on walking and said, Al-Hajju Arafah. If you don't get to Arafah, you have no Hajj. That was a sign that the signs of ignorance days, the Jahiliyyah, is over. Now this is pure Islam. You have to get to Arafah. So everybody carried on. And that's another change in from Jahiliyyah to proper Islam. When he got there, he went straight to Namira, which is on the Mount of Arafah, and where the masjid is now, Masjid Namira. And he delivered his, what we call the last Hajj sermon, the farewell sermon, khutbah. After praising Allah and praising himself, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and making there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he started saying, I'm going to be reading parts so I don't miss. It's very crucial that it's not from my own wording, it's what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in translation. He said, O people, I advise you, O slaves of Allah, I advise you to fear Allah. Taqwa Allah, first thing. Fear Allah. And I urge you to obey Him. So fear of Allah and obedience. Lend me an attentive ear. I do not know whether I shall ever be amongst you after this year. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He had feeling that we always say, no one knows. I don't know if I'm going to finish this lesson even. So he was saying he might not be with them, which is true. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he's asked them, O people, what day is the day today? And they said, this is the day of the great pilgrimage, Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar. He said, what month is this month? They said, this is the sacred month of Dhul Hijjah, one of the Al-Ashhur al-Hurum. He said, what place or city is this? He says, this is the city, sacred city, Al-Bayt al-Haram. And he said, I tell you that your blood and your property, wealth, i.e. of the Muslims, is so sacred and trusted by Allah to you in the same way, until you meet your Lord, as sacred as this day is, as sacred as this month is, as sacred as this city is. So fighting Muslim to Muslim, killing Muslim to Muslim, you can imagine how haram this is. It's equivalent to the Shahr al-Haram, the day of Arafah al-Haram, in Baytullah al-Haram. So this is how he stressed on that. And then he says, have I conveyed the message? O Allah, be my witness. Now you will notice through this khutbah, every time he conveys a message that is important, he will say, have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. And then whoever has been trusted with any object, what we call amana, let him return it to the person who trusted him with it. This is the importance of the amana, being honest, and honesty and trustworthiness, being as a Muslim. And usury and interest, riba, of Jahiliyyah, of the ignorant days, is over. And the first usury I waive is the usury of my uncle Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. Al-Abbas radiallahu anhu used to be a wealthy man. He used to lend people money and take in return interest. And the Prophet ﷺ saying, this is haram. And the first one, anybody who has borrowed any money from his uncle Abbas, from that day, have to return it as the same amount as they've taken from him, no more extra on top of it. And all blood and revenge from Jahiliyyah as well, the day of ignorance, is waived. So if anybody, because the revenge is very common amongst the Arab tribes, he said, no revenge. And the first blood I start by waiving is the blood of Amir ibn Rabi'ah ibn al-Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib. This is one of his own blood from his cousins. So because people, his family was saying we have to avenge him, he stopped that. No more revenge. And the pride of Jahiliyyah, everything that you pride with you, oh, I'm from such and such tribe, I'm from Quraysh, I'm from this, I'm a wealthy man, this is all from the ignorance day, is waived. He's eliminated that, except as-sidana was-siqaya, looking after the Kaaba and looking after the Hujjaj, giving them water. These are the two things that he kept as part of Islam, accepted from Jahiliyyah, but Islam approves of. Looking after Al-Kaaba and Bayt al-Haram, and looking after Hujjaj, giving them water. And intentional murder will be avenged by the state. If someone kills anybody, intentional murder, the state will have to avenge the killed person. And in Islam, it's killing person, or if the family agree to get in return financial change. But it has the family who have to agree it. If they don't, murder is death. And non-intentional killing is what kills using a stick or a stone. Because you might throw someone with a stone to hurt the person, and suddenly it hits the head and they die. This is not intentional, because you did not intend to kill that person, but still killed him. Non-intentional killing, whoever has that, the killer's family has to pay 100 camels as return for the non-intentional killing. And whoever asks for more than the 100, this is from Jahiliyyah, i.e. he has potentially drawn into kufr, asking more than the 100 that is Islamic law. O people, Satan, has lost hope that he will ever be worshipped or followed in your land, in this land of yours. I.e. no more shirk. He will not be associating any gods. He will not be able to get you to associate any gods with Allah anymore. But he has agreed that you will follow him in other matters. What are these other matters? The description of the Prophet ﷺ is from what you demean or do not account from your actions. So you might say, oh, this is nothing, throw that rubbish in the street and walk, it's nothing. But Islam orders us to take filth off the ground on the streets and tidy up the streets. So Shaitan would accept that you commit that little sin, okay, throw a bit of rubbish, and slowly you have a dirty town, and so on and so forth. So that's what Shaitan will accept from you at that stage. And then say, O people, an-nasi' is an increase in kufr. So to guide you further astray. An-nasi' is, I discussed that again in the beginning when Abraha wanted to, before he built this big church and wanted all the Arabs to come to it as pilgrimage. And then a man from An-Nasi, a special tribe, went and did filth in it. Those people had a special, level and honor in Arabia. They used to play with the months. Because the months we have 4 Hurum, the sacred months of Shahr al-Haram are 4. We know the Prophet's going to mention them again, which are Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. 3 straight together for people to go to Hajj, do the Hajj, and come back. So they need safety. And there's Rajab in between Jamada and Sha'ban. So people of Nasi, or people in Arabia, used to fight each other to live. So suddenly they come, 3 months no fighting, it's too much. They will go to people of Nasi. Why don't you just defer Muharram another month for us, so we can fight and then we can stop and then Muharram comes? Or why don't you defer Dhul Hijjah? So there used to be a tribe that used to tell the Arabs, this year it will be Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, then there will be a month in between that's halal, and then we'll come back to Muharram haram. They played with the months. And the Prophet said, called it An-Nasi. The Prophet ﷺ said, An-Nasi is an increase in kufr, being disbelief. So they were disbeliever, not believing Allah, idol worshippers, and on top of that they were adding to it extra An-Nasi. It misguided them. that النسي, they made it halal one year and haram another. They used to play with the months whenever they wanted. And now he specified, and time has turned around to the same days when Allah has created the heavens and earth. Just to clarify to them that this month we're doing Hajj is the true Dhul Hijjah. No more playing with the months from now on. Allah has turned and turned that He got His Prophet ﷺ to do the Hajj in the true Dhul Hijjah. Clarification. So people say, oh, Nasi used to play with the months, we don't know, we're not sure what is what. Prophet ﷺ made it clear. And then he said, the number of months Allah created are 12 in the book of Allah since He created the heavens and earth, from which are 4 haram, 3 together, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah and Muharram, and Rajab that comes between Jamada and Sha'ban. He specified as well which months, so people don't start playing with them. He specified Rajab between Jamada and Sha'ban. Have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. Very important topic, so he has to stress on it. O people, your women have certain rights over you. And this is something la hawla wa la quwwata billah, many of us have forgotten nowadays. And you have certain rights in regards to them. You have that they do not get in bed anyone other than you, and that they do not let anyone in your homes that you disapprove of, even if they're their relative. If you disapprove, they should not enter your house without your permission, except with your permission. Specified it again. And they do not commit any obscenity, but if they did, then Allah has given you permission to give them a warning, which is admonish them. Okay? And ta'duluhunna. And you do not share beds with them. And tahjuruhunna fil madaji'. So ayah in the Quran. And that you hit them without hurting them. And this is a clear clarification for people saying, the Quran, Allah says, وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, hit them, beat them up. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. The Prophet is saying, and you hit them, but you do without hurting them. Can you imagine? How can you hit someone and not hurt, except doing this? So, it's not a matter of beating, it's just a matter of showing a sign that you have reached the last step. After that, there is separation. So this is what it means by the beating or hitting the women, not beating up as some do. And if they stop doing any obscenity and they obey you, then your duty is to feed them and clothe them in kindness. Do treat your women well. This is an order. Do treat your women well and be kind to them as they are under your care. We are responsible for our women. They are under our care. And remember that you took them with the sincerity of Allah and you married them by the word of Allah. So fear Allah with your women and be kind to them again. Have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. All believers are brothers. It is not allowed for anyone to take from the wealth of his brother except with his permission. You can't just go in someone's house and find, oh, their dates, let's say Bismillah and eat, without their permission, even that. Have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. Again, this is an important point. That, okay, as I said, you can take something but without permission. Do not return after me, disbelievers, killing one another. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Did he know what I was doing? Yes, he did. What we will be doing. As I have left you on what, if you stick to, you will never go astray. the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. O people, your Lord is one, and your Father is one. You are all from Adam, and Adam is from dust. The best of you in the eyes of Allah is the most pious. There is no favor of any Arab over a non-Arab except with taqwa, piety. So there's nothing, you can have anybody in this earth that is better than any Arab because they are more pious. So Arabs have nothing over anybody else. Have I not passed the message? O Allah, be my witness. And then people there said, yes, you have passed the message. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, let the present of you pass the message to the absent. So that's why now this message reached us because of this request from him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O people, Allah has distributed every inheritance to every inheriting person his share from the inheritance. So no play, there is a rule now. The person who inherits should not be included in the will. And do not give more than a third in your wills. The will is for everybody else, unlike what we know about the will in the West. The Islamic will, if you write any will that you want to give some part of your money to anybody else or a charity or whatever, not more than a third, and no one who is part of who will inherit from you is allowed to be named in that. So there is no favoritism of anybody, your children, parents, whatever. Allah has decided how much they take. That's decided, finished. The son is from the wedlock and should be named to his father, and the adulterer should be stoned. Whoever takes the name other than his father, or whoever is named other than the one who's freed him. The slaves used to be freed and used to be named after the person who freed them. They call Mawla Umar. They call his name and Mawla Umar, like Umar freed him. Mawla Abu Bakr freed him. So if that person takes a name, another person apart from the one who freed him, then he is cursed by Allah. So whoever takes a name other than his father, and whoever has been freed and takes a name other than the person who freed him, he will be cursed by Allah and his angels and the human beings, all. And Allah will not accept from him any exchange or righteousness after that. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now this is the sermon that tells us about our life, how we should behave in our life. And you can see everything is what is general terms to dealing with others, humans. Nothing what is mine, what is my duty to Allah anymore. That is clear. Now our duties to others. And it clarified all the rules, what not to do, what not to do. SubhanAllah. Scholars say on the way back to Medina from Hajj, after they completed the Hajj, Allah has revealed Surah Al-Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 3, within which is اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. It's part of that verse that today I have accomplished your religion and completed my favor upon you and chose for you Islam as your religion. That's last, what they say the ulama was revealed after this Hajj. Now in 11th Safar Hijri, in Hijri, what was said by the time Prophet returned back, it was the end of Dhul Hijjah, beginning of Muharram, 11th Hijri now. Muharram is Shahrul Haram, again. After that becomes Safar, which is not Shahr Haram. So the Prophet ﷺ in Safar, he ordered Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, who was a young man of 18 or 20, to lead a battalion to go to the Romans and Ghassasina in Palestine in Al-Balqa. So Usama ibn Zayd, within his, as a young man commander, his troops are Abu Bakr, Umar, Ali, Uthman, Abu Talha radiallahu anhum ajma'in. The big Sahaba were under a banner of an 18 to 20-year-old young man as a leader. But Prophet ﷺ knows better who is worthwhile leadership. So Usama went out, camped outside, and started asking people who want to join him to go out and prepare for that battalion. One evening, the Prophet ﷺ called one of the slaves he freed. That's to say, Mawla, it was to call Mawla Rasulullah ﷺ, called Abu Muwayhiba. And he said, "Oh Abu Muwayhiba, come with me. I want to go to Al-Baqi', the graveyard of the Muslims." He went there. He made istighfar, asked Allah to forgive the Muslims dead there, and prayed for them. And after he finished, he looked at the graves, and Muwayhiba narrated that. He said, the Prophet said, "Congratulations for what you have." He was talking to the dead. He's congratulating the dead for what they have and where they are. And he said after that, "Seductions and ravish," which is a fitan, has come one after another. And that's why he's congratulating them, because they have escaped this ravish that's going to happen and all the seductions to follow. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he looked at Abu Muwayhiba and said, "Oh Abu Muwayhiba, Allah, the Lord, has given me the choice between wealth of earth and living forever." You know, imagine Prophet living with us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Al-Jannah, and between meeting him and Al-Jannah. Abu Muwayhiba jumped and said, "Ya Rasulullah, choose us, choose us." He said, "No, I choose to meet Allah and Al-Jannah." Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As you can tell, the love of Allah has filled his heart. May Allah get us to have our hearts full with love to him and his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I will stop here because inshallah next week we will talk about the remaining, and it might be the last of the parts of the seerah inshallah, if we're still from the alive. Jazakumullahu khairan. And if I have done any mistake through all this, may Allah forgive me for it. It's from shaitan, from myself, because I have tried my best to get whatever I can. I might have missed parts of the seerah as well that could be important, but I'm choosing whatever Allah has helped me with. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.